Hello folks, how are we doing today? Today we are going out on a Royal Enfield Himalayan. Doing some group rides, some group demo rides from AMR in Renfrew. So we're taking out this and maybe a couple other bikes. So it's not going to be a full on review, it's just going to be a first look and first impressions. Right, so we're off for the first demo ride of today on this Himalayan, or Himalayan as some people mention it. I've wanted to test this bike for a while and just never had the chance, so quite pleased. Now obviously, as I said before, it is an organised route, so we need to just follow on the direction that I'm led. So it'll not be a full-on review, just a first impressions. And my very first impression, the bike is lovely and stable. Suspension feels quite firm. Could just be the way this particular bike is set up, but it feels quite firm and very manageable. Single cylinder engine, and that's third gear, pull away from low revs, and that pulled up the hill very nicely. No trouble at all. The clutch is very light, the throttle is very light. Plenty of low down grunt there, accelerates nicely, plenty of power. We've lost one guy behind us, but I suppose he can deal with that. So it's quite smooth. That's 30 miles an hour, which is the speed limit for this bit of road. Perfectly smooth power delivery in 4th gear, no lumps, no chugging, nothing like that. So far so good. So starting at the front of the bike, you've obviously got your LED headlight, LED indicators, and that nice little, what I call a bikini screen, just a small screen there to keep the worst of the wind blast. The display is a TFT display, and it's a lovely round display, nice and clear. It might well be flickering on the camera, but if it is, be rest assured that's just the frame rate of the camera, that is not the display. So you've got your tachometer around the outside, you've got your fuel gauge there, gear indicator, speed, odometer at the bottom right, and your time. 6 forward gears, 60 miles an hour, and that accelerated up to pace very, very nicely. The bike has got a single disc brake in the front, which is okay. It's not brilliant, but it's certainly adequate. Stops the bike. Showa suspension forks, non-adjustable on the bike, but they seem to be doing the job nicely on this bumpy road. When you drop it into the corner there, it's quite nice. It's got a 21-inch front wheel on this bike, so it's a big front wheel, but it slid in there. Not slid, didn't slide, that would be a disaster. It dropped in nicely there. All the switch gear falls to hand very well. You don't have much really, it's quite a basic bike. So you've got your left hand here, you've got your lights controls for your full beam. Got a wee button in the back there for your flash to pass, I think. I don't know, I'll need to check that. Horn and a wee button. Now, because I've only got this for a wee short time, I don't have time to do a full review or a full walk round or anything like that. Mirrors are adequate, shall we say. I always find with round mirrors, you don't get a huge amount of view behind you, just because of the shape of them, but they're alright. I'd probably change them. But so far I'm really impressed with it. The bike feels quite eager. What I mean, just trundling along here in 4th gear, it feels like you wouldn't have to drop down a gear. Picks up quite well, it's quite torquey. We've just missed a downpour of rain just a few minutes ago. Try and stay out of spray. perfectly smooth up the hill, no lumpiness at all. Really nice. AMR motorcycles are based in Hillington, just outside Glasgow, and they do Royal Enfield, they do CF Moto, Benelli, Aprilia, and something else I can't remember the name of. So it's a really nice little garage, I like it. It's not glitzy and glamorous like a lot of dealerships, it's just a kind of a bit of an old school look about it, and I really like it. So if you're in the area, pop in and pay them a visit. But you could demo this Himalayan or a load of the other bikes they have. So back to the bike, I'm currently 5th gear, 30 mile an hour. And again, there's no chugging, no lumpiness from the bike. There's no real vibrations to speak of either. It's very smooth, nothing coming through the bars, nothing coming through the pegs of the seat. I can see why this bike is very popular. It's really good value for money from what I can see, and it's a bit different from your normal Japanese bikes and things that are quite popular. I was a bit low in the revs there at 2nd gear, but it managed to pull away just fine. The clutch is also quite light. It's not a span adjustable clutch, I would like that to be a wee bit closer for my hand, but it's fine. And the brake isn't adjustable either, so it's non-adjustable levers. So coming up to this wee roundabout in 3rd gear, try an acceleration up to 60. Accelerates up to 60 just fine. A bit of a sharper bend here. So roll on at 6th gear. Again, perfectly smooth, no chugginess, nothing like that. Accelerating along there is absolutely fine. Right, so that's 5th gear at 30 miles an hour, and that's starting to get a wee bit chuggy, not quite so smooth. So if you're about town, you probably want to be in 4th or below, which is perfectly normal anyway. I feel very comfortable on this bike. The seating position's comfortable, my body's quite upright. Legs are at about 90 degrees, and the reach to the bars is perfect. I'm quite a short guy, I'm 5'6" with 29-inch side leg, and this fits me fine. The one thing I noticed, when you have the bike in the side stand, it's canted really far over to the left, like really far over. I was looking at it thinking, is that right? I believe the criticism of the previous Royal Enfield Himalayan was that it was too upright and it tended to fall over too easy. That's not going to happen with this bike. It's canted way across to the left side. So it's not going to fall over, but it does mean that if you park with the left side slightly downhill, that's going to be amplified. You just kind of need to bear that in mind when parking. So coming along here dead slow, 2nd gear, just trundling, and it's fine. I'll get round before this wee guy comes. The throttle response is quite smooth. It's not a sporty throttle by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not snatchy either. I would say it's a relaxed throttle. Rolls on nicely, so that's second gear and I'm just trundling along here. On and off the throttle is quite smooth, there's no lurching, no hunting for fuel, nothing like that. I've just noticed there's a wee shift indicator there. I was sitting in second and a wee red arrow appeared to tell me to shift up. Round the speed bumps. It does feel quite a firm ride, I mentioned that a minute ago. Plenty of feedback off the road. Let's try it a wee bit standing up. It's a standing up position. Aye, quite comfortable, stands up well. Leaning a wee bit forward as you would expect, but very similar riding position to my CB500X standing up, and you can get the weight through the bars quite well. So if you're in the market for one of these bikes, or you're just curious about how they ride, definitely get out. I've been out in a few Royal Enfields now, and I've been impressed with them. This one and the Interceptor 650, that was a few years ago, right enough, and I've been very impressed with the bikes. So stopped at the lights here. I've got my right foot on the brake, I've got my left foot flat on the ground. Really stable. Mode button, can't change the mode. Mode change denied, retry it in next ignition cycle. Wonder why that is. As I say, I don't have time to try all the different buttons and stuff today. Coming up round this roundabout, quite bumpy, perfectly stable, not getting offline or anything like that. That's where the big 21-inch wheel holds its own. If you're riding on really rough terrain or bumpy roads and stuff that's quite badly potholed, the bigger wheel just rolls better than a smaller wheel. Gearbox is quite light, I don't know if I mentioned that, but snicks into gear nicely, no issues whatsoever. So this is third gear up the hill, 19 miles an hour, and you can feel when it's about to start getting chuggy, when you should start dropping down a gear. You can feel it because there's a kind of wee slight hesitation and you think, alright, maybe I should drop down a gear. But if at that point, if you catch it and if you put the throttle on, it's lovely and smooth, it powers away nicely. The bike counter steers well also. Once you set it up for a corner, you can just leave it there and it'll just stay on that line, no hassle at all. Oh, crazy doggy by the look of it. Crazy doggy. Wah, wah. I've only been on the bike for a short time and it feels very comfortable. The saddle seat's fine. Doesn't feel hard or uncomfortable in any way. It's big enough to move about on. I can move forward and back a good bit so I can adjust my riding position. Right, end on a national speed, so let's give it a bit of acceleration. Right. So I think if you're in a group ride with some bigger bikes, you'll probably manage to keep up okay. So it's 6th gear, when you roll in the power, acceleration is fine. It's not a fast bike, but if you're out riding all day, it'll be perfectly adequate. So yeah, I'm impressed. So that's at 60 miles an hour, and what I'm feeling as far as air blast goes, I'm getting air on my helmet, on my upper chest and my shoulders. This screen is quite small, and because of that I'm not getting a huge amount of protection on my upper body, but it's not uncomfortable. For my lower body, my knees are tucked into the tank quite nicely, so my knees are kept out the wind. a slight bit of buzz through the bars at 65 there, but nothing that a pair of grip puppies wouldn't solve. Still in 6th gear at 3000 RPM, and I can now just start to feel that once I change down. I don't know what the fuel consumption is on this bike, but I'd imagine it'll be quite good with it being a single cylinder. If you're light on the throttle and you nurse it and you're just taking your time, I'd expect to get really good fuel economy. So far there's only one thing about this bike I don't like, and that is the mirrors. I've never been a fan of round mirrors, and I don't like them. I know it suits the look of the bike, but for me they're just not good enough. I prefer a bigger, sort of more teardrop shape or rectangular shape. I think you get better visibility with that. But that's just a personal thing for myself. So who do I think this bike would suit? If you're looking for an adventure style bike, but you don't fancy some of the high capacity bikes, so more a mid-size, this would definitely be a good option for you. I also think maybe after you pass your test and you're looking for the first sort of bigger bike, again it would be a good option for you. The seat height is quite accessible, it's not particularly tall, and I think if you're doing some touring as well, this would be quite a good tourer. Might be worth, though, if you're going to be doing a lot of touring, consider putting a bigger screen on this, because it's not very big. I think where the bike excels is on these roads, the kind of back roads, your 40 to 60 mile an hour roads. It's where it's ideal. If you were sitting on the bike on a motorway, for example, all day, I think you would want to stop after maybe an hour or an hour and a half. I like this display as well, it's nice and easy to read. Perhaps if they put a wee bit more colour, just to kind of help grab your attention to the important bits, like maybe if the fuel gauge was a different colour to the revs, for example, and then if they had a red section when you got to the higher RPM. I mean, I don't know, it might very well change colour if you got up there, but I don't think so. So I'd just like to thank the guys at AMR for arranging a day like this. It's not often that dealerships will do something like this where you can go and jump on bikes back to back. They've got a really wide demo fleet, so if you do fancy having a go with some different bikes, give them a call. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to let you get a demo out, obviously making sure you've got the correct licensing requirements for it. With the power delivery that this bike has and the larger front wheel, I'd imagine it'll be really good for light off-road, gravel roads and things like that. We'll probably even do a bit more serious off-roads, but that's not my thing. So, final thoughts then of this very brief first thoughts of the Royal Enfield Himalayan. Very, very impressed with this bike. A good all-rounder. Not too powerful, it's not going to catch you out, you're not going to do anything silly on it, but it's got enough power to have a wee bit of fun. Great for doing everything, great for commuting, great for going to the shops, great for just day-to-day use, and at this very competitive price point as well. So, well done Royal Enfield, cracking wee bike. Fantastic, eh? So that's the Himalayan from AMR. Get yourself along to check it out.